What do you do when things are too busy? Hey agents, my name is Sonja Rankin from Rankin Helping Agents, and today I wanted to make a little video about what happens when business does start picking up. So there was a time in my second year where I had a transaction. I'm like, oh great. But then another buyer went active and another one was asking me questions. All of a sudden, I felt overwhelmed. Things were moving a bit fast. I didn't really know the systems of what to do. Of course, I know the job. Of course, I knew what to do. I knew the laws. But the systems of being a new agent is something they will not teach you in real estate school. So looking back, my advice would be to myself at that point is hire a TC. Have a transaction coordinator handle that part of the transaction. You've got to get through a few transactions on your own. If you haven't closed at least 5 transactions, then don't hire a transaction coordinator. Wait until you get to the 6th or 7th or 8th so you know the back end of the work. It's so important to know why we have our clients or customers sign certain forms. It's so important to know the process and why insurance requests certain forms, what forms they need, and the same thing with title, what they need and why. It's great for us and it makes you a better agent for when your client says, what's this for? What do I need to do this? Why would I sign this? Then you can explain the process of, hey, this is required by the insurance company. You'll at least know who is requiring it and why you're doing what you do in your business. So keep in mind that when things start getting busy, don't be afraid to hire some help. Don't be afraid to get a little help. And for those of you who are not in the real estate business, a transaction coordinator can handle, they're like an assistant that just handles the paperwork. So if I'm under contract at that point, I can get a transaction coordinator involved. After we've gone and seen houses and we go and put an offer in on a house and then you decide that you want to move forward with that house and your offer is accepted, I can call a transaction coordinator and help her or get her to help me with the paperwork and do that end of it. Of course, the real estate agent is very involved, but a lot of transaction coordinators can get to those answers a little faster than the agent, or they can get that paperwork that's necessary signed. They can be collecting condo docs or homeowners association docs for us while we're out showing more properties or answering our clients' questions and concerns. So don't be afraid to hire help when you start getting busy. Have a success plan. As you know you're under contract, you know things are picking up, you know you're working with another buyer who's super serious and you're going to be under contract again, have a success plan right now, even before you've gotten your 4 or 5 transactions under your belt. Start calling TCs, start calling transaction coordinators and say, hey, I just was curious about what your systems are. Like, what services do you offer? What are your prices? Do you have any brokerage discounts for this particular company? Ask them all the right questions, because I'll tell you right now, I've interviewed 4 or 5 TCs at this point, and there are some TCs that will blow you away when it comes to listings. A lot of agents won't use a transaction coordinator for a listing because so much of the work falls on the buyer side of the transaction for them to get their financing correct, to make sure that they're meeting their deadlines. A lot of the times after you go under contract, the seller side sits back and just oversees that everything is done and that the sellers have signed their respective paperwork. So during the interview process, I've come to find that there are certain transaction coordinators who really go above and beyond, even to the effect of, before you're even under contract, scheduling showings. So you don't have to be on the other line working on getting buyers in the door. They handle scheduling some of them handle scheduling showings. Some of them handle writing a beautiful property description for you, or giving you ideas or inspiration for this particular home. And that is awesome to have somebody who's willing to go above and beyond for likely the same price, because a lot of our transaction coordinators over here are very comparable. And then the caveat to that is there are interviews that I've had with transaction coordinators on the buyer's side where I was shocked at how much work they were willing to do to assist me in getting that buyer to the closing table. I'm talking they would be willing to take phone calls for me. They would be willing to call the title companies and find out if they have the survey to save my buyer money. I do that anyway, but like, it's something that not every agent thinks to do. So sometimes hiring a TC when you're starting to get busy after you're vetted and had your time and closed your transactions can really put you in a position to better serve your client. And that's what we're really here for, is to be able to focus on building the relationship and being able to make sure they feel comfortable with the whole process of buying a home or selling a home, because it is a scary thing. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lot of cases. And if you're curious, around here, the average price for a transaction coordinator is right around $500. I'm in the Emerald Coast of Florida, and almost everybody I've interviewed has been right around $450 to $500. So your area, the prices may be a little different. I've interviewed maybe 5 or 6 transaction coordinators, and that's the general prices, right around $500 for both buyer's agent and or buying transaction and the transaction for listings. So I hope this was helpful. Keep in mind, don't wait too long to hire help, because your customers can suffer if you're too busy and you're not able to get to the paperwork, or you're not able to get to their phone calls due to the paperwork. So know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and get out there and put your best foot forward is my advice. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I am Realtor Sonja Rankin for Rankin Helping Agents, and I hope this was helpful. Bye, guys.